WSN, you ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN, you ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swift.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by TWSN. And guess what? A special edition, because it is State of the Jungle edition, day 3 of free agency frenzy. I'm Malik Wright. We got a lot to talk about today because the AFC North drama, it continues. Ramping up here on day 3, NFL free agency frenzy. Today we're going to be breaking down the fallout of the Ravens pulling out of the Max Crosby trade talks, Trey Hendrickson signing with Baltimore, and what it means for the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll be talking about Cincinnati's lack of aggression after day 1 of NFL free agency. Some moves the Bengals can still make to win free agency. And later we'll get to your questions live. So if you're a Bengals fan, buckle up because the landscape of the AFC North may be shifting right in front of us. But with that being said, boys, it's good to be back with you guys. And I say everybody because for the first time in a long time, the whole crew is here. We got Daniel. We've got Logan. And everybody's favorite analytics guy, PFF-driven guy, Evan McPhillips is back in the building. Welcome, Evan. Good to see you. Why are you doing that? You know that you talk a lot more than that. You're over here acting like you're
I'm happy, man. It's good to be back, man. I'm just all smiles, man. It's the Bengals are the Bengals, but it's nice to be back with you guys.
Yeah, man. It's good to be back with you guys. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios, and tell a friend that we are live right now for the Sit Down, aka State of the Jungle, free agency frenzy day 3. Let's start with the Max Crosby situation. So there was real buzz around the Ravens exploring a trade for Max Crosby, 2 first-round picks. Everybody thought it was a dumb deal. Now, Baltimore pulls out of these said trade conversations, saying they didn't like the medicals of Max Crosby. And lo and behold, the very next day, they signed Cincinnati Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson to a $116 million contract, $60 million guaranteed, with the ability to make upwards to $64 million because the first 2 years, that's what he's going to be making, $60 million guaranteed, right? Big payday for Trey. Before we jump into Trey, right, let's talk about the Ravens pulling out of the Max Crosby contract situation. Guys, can I be real with you? I smell bullshit. I listen. You are entitled to do what you want to do as an organization. Trust me, you're entitled to do that. However, this is a bad look on you guys. Listen, you guys knew Max Crosby had a knee injury. You guys knew Max Crosby probably wasn't going to pass a physical. And just for the people in the back that are saying, well, Malik, he actually didn't pass a physical, right? Well, let me just enlighten you guys. An NFL team can fail you for a physical for anything, any reason. It's open-ended. It is very loose. They could say, Evan, you failed our physical after we thought about we're going to sign you for $200,000 because you stubbed your toe, and we don't like the optics of your recovery. So it's bullshit. Let's call it what it is. The Ravens looked at the landscape. They said, we traded 2 first-round picks for Max Murphy. Trey Hendrickson's negotiations aren't going the way we think it would. Let's just say we don't like the medicals a little bit. Let's bring Trey in here. I've got a lot more thoughts on that. Evan, it's been a while since you've been on the show. You've got your C4. I want to hear your thoughts.
Ready. Charged up, baby. I'm with you, dude. The dust didn't even settle, right? There was no amount of time between that announcement and kind of the fallout with Crosby before people were tweeting out, Trey Hendrickson's going to make a decision tomorrow, as it just so happens. And it's with Baltimore. Who could have guessed, right? Except a lot of people who are connecting those dots very, very early. Like you said, to fail you for medical after you had already kind of cleared everything and then been like, hey, we're all good. Like, let's send this trade through, to not have sent that signal flare up a little bit earlier. Yeah. That's kind of the red flag for me. Like, if this was an issue, it would have been an issue the day of. And also that would have been discussed with the player and his agent, is like, hey, this got flagged by our doctors. Sorry, we can't do this. You wouldn't have the player and the agent fighting back. People fail medical checks all the time for different teams, but you don't see the agent and the player always out in the open, just so immediately and violently opposing the narrative that's being put out there. And also, there's just a lot of inconsistencies in the narratives that the Ravens are putting out there that immediately they're like, oh, yeah, well, it's this, and he can't touch his toes. And meanwhile, his agent's like, he's ahead of recovery on his therapy right now. He's doing just fine. Like, I don't understand why you guys are suddenly like, oh, he can barely move. Like, that's not only like, oh, we have an issue. That's also saying like, oh, this guy's like crippled, guys. Like, he can't even do anything. Like, that's fucked up for a guy who's out there trying to get a contract. So like, there's a little bit of that like defamation element to it of like, hey guys, like, yeah, you can say we failed your medical check and that's your right. But to like put out all this extra bullshit of like trying to justify it, that and the timing is all just really, really fishy to me.
Yeah, I think you could kind of tell immediately the Raiders were kind of pissed about what happened.
Immediately,
like,
yeah.
And that's where I understand being pissed about it in general, but that's where the frustration and the like, hold on a minute, like what really happened here started. You know, they said they backed out, no further questions. Like, it's not like that he failed or anything. That's not what they felt. You know, obviously we don't have access to the scans. We don't have access to all that stuff. Maybe it is bad. You know, I saw something about how it probably is bad because he begged him to play and let him play. But then we also see him shooting basketball, doing all this. He's clearly good enough he's clearly fine. You know, but like teams can do whatever they want on their physical. They could have passed. Like, if they passed him, that doesn't mean he's healthier than he is right now. It just means they don't care about what's in front of them. It's not like when you pass your team's physical, it's not, okay, he's a completely healthy, clean bill of health. Cool. We don't care what's on here. We're okay with everything that's on here. Cool. Let's move forward. And it's just something, again, the way the Raiders put out that statement and even everything since. Now, you know, you can kind of tell the Ravens are kind of backtracking. We were talking to him before this even happened. And, you know, we had interest in him before and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, of course you're going to say that. Now, there's a reason it was never connected during that time or before that time ever.
The terms of a guy or the terms of a deal for a guy who's famously difficult to negotiate with came together really quickly, right? Like, if the Bengals over multiple seasons are to be believed, and if the first day or two of free agency, Trey not getting a deal just worked out immediately, wow, this deal just materialized real quick for a guy who's just always got like very particular stipulations.
Yeah. And I think that the biggest frustration, like for me, just as a football guy in general, is just like everybody, just the timing of it. Like, we are in the heart of the offseason. People are structuring their moves. Two organizations are structuring their moves around this big blockbuster that you guys just put together. The Raiders spend a shitload of money extremely fast in free agency. I'm telling you what, if Max Crosby was there, they don't make a lot of those moves they make, more than likely. And I think that has a major domino effect within the league. I mean, they signed 2 linebackers, Bengals related. Maybe the Bengals are one of those linebackers, but no, the Raiders can throw more money at him. The Raiders can, you know, give more money to this guy, that guy, bring in college teammates for the hell of it. They can do more of that stuff because they aren't under the impression they're paying an edge rusher $30 million.
Yeah,
like, it's just whack.
It's absurd, and I think the part where I'm at is they were definitely backtracking a little bit. I mean, listen, you come out, Eric DeCosta, and tries to cool the waters today, comes out with the press conference. I mean, dog, like we saw this last year, obviously completely different sport, but the Lakers and the Mark Williams thing. Mark Williams obviously had health issues and injury concerns before. The dude is playing this year. The dude played at the end of last season. So Max Crosby, and this was from all reports out there, everybody knew what his situation was. Everybody knew he is not physically healthy to play on the football field right now. This was a little bit of backtracking, in my opinion. And I think that when I look at the Ravens and now how it plays out, I think the Ravens are fine, though. Like, I think the issue is obviously the relationship, sure, with the Raiders. But if you look at me and say, all right, and we talked about this on the show yesterday, would you rather have Trey Hendrickson, pick 14 and next year's first, or Max Crosby? I'm probably taking Trey 14 in next year's first. And listen, I like Max Crosby. I think Max is a fantastic player. I think it could have been a little bit of cold feet. So this definitely screws the Raiders over. And the reason I say that, and the biggest point it screws the Raiders over, you're not getting 2 first-round picks if you trade them. You're not. And I think that we will see what ends up happening. But man, the situation.
I almost wish somebody would trade it from him and be like, "Yeah, he looks good to me." You know what I mean? Like, clean bill of health from our end. You know, that would just be kind of funny. But I am kind of interested to see how that whole situation plays out in Vegas, because I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, like, put Max Crosby on that roster. They made some good moves. Like, all of a sudden, that roster is like, you know, obviously the price and if they can really afford that and sustain all that level is a completely different story. But it's just, you know, from the trade value for him, I'm interested to just see how the rest of that story unfolds.
Yeah, I think it's absurd. So we'll see.
Well, you know, I know people are going crazy right now. You know, just so you guys know, we have like now a news desk on the show that sort of wants me to follow things to a T, and I'm supposed to follow things to a T, and they're feeding me information as things are coming through. And I'll get to all that. One of the things that just came through was Pac-Man Jones apparently is put out a video just now, and he says,
It's always a good start.
Well, the Cincinnati Bengals, sources tell me, he says, and I quote, "I'm not Adam Scheffler, but I'm the Black Adam Scheffler." That's what he says. He says, and sources tell me that Mr. Brown is going to be acquiring Max Crosby, looking to spend money. Now, me and Pat worked on our relationship, man. We really, really did, man. So I don't want to shoot him down right away, but I'm just going to remind people, you know, we went head to head on this a couple years ago with Ryan Jensen. When he put that tweet out, I said, Bengals are interested in Ryan Jensen. I said, no, they're not. They're not going to pay Ryan Jensen $18 million, $15 million. But who knows? I don't have any intel on this. We will see what happens. We know that the Bengals were interested in Max Crosby before. I certainly think that this, back to our original point, I think that this puts the Ravens in a precarious situation with the rest of the entire league. That the entire league is looking at, I think that the entire league is looking at the Ravens kind of crazy right now, because you know what comes with trading for a player who's fresh off of meniscus tear, right? You know that he wasn't going to be 100% healthy, but yet and still you went through with it. Just say we pulled out because Trey Hendrickson was available and we wanted to give you a big fuck you to the Cincinnati Bengals. Just say that. That's a little bit more believable than we pulled out because we weren't comfortable with his medicals when you gave up 2 first-round picks being comfortable with medicals. You know, it's funny, when that first happened, I literally told Daniel, I said, hey, this was probably the most unlike Ravens move that I had seen. This is definitely not Ozzie Newsome's front office anymore, because in years past, they'd be more interested in keeping those picks, right? So, I don't know. I find it very, very interesting. I want to move on, though. Let's talk about the move that's got some Bengals fans fired up. By some, I mean all. Trey Hendrickson to the Baltimore Ravens. And let's make no mistake about it, guys. This one hurts a little bit. It does. It does. Not because, you knew he was moving on. Mm-hmm. You would have just not liked to see him move on to a team in your division. Trey Hendrickson has probably been the best free agent pickup that the Bengals have ever made. He is. Mm-hmm. And that might not be saying a lot to some people because they don't usually swim in these waters often when it comes to free agency. But Hendrickson has been the most productive pass rusher in the NFL over the past several seasons. He brings consistent pressure. He's a relentless pass rusher. He does leave a lot to be desired from a run standpoint, but he's a walking double-digit sack artist. Let's call it what it is. Now he's lining up twice a year against Cincinnati, against the Baltimore Ravens. So this isn't just losing a good player. This is strengthening a division rival. I think we can all agree with that. Mm-hmm. So the big question becomes, did the Bengals miscalculate the market, or were they simply never going to match Baltimore's offer long beforehand? Before we even dive into all that, I want to get to some of the super chats. Appreciate you guys for throwing that in the chat. You certainly didn't have to, but we want to make sure we get to them. I greatly appreciate it. Daniel, I want to kick this over to you before we get into the Trey Hendrickson conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So we go to the first one. We appreciate MB34012. He said, "We will never win. We can't compete with these other teams. Our ownership only has football money and they aren't willing to spend it. These other owners have money outside of football and actually go all in." Ooh, man. I mean, there ain't no lie soul, I think, right now.
Yeah, I'll let y'all start this off because I could cook all day regarding this, but I want to let you guys talk about it before I do, because I get called just a guy that's super negative sometimes. So I want to let you guys talk. Give your thoughts on MB. MB, again, we appreciate you for the for the super chat.
I think it's just one of those things. It comes back to, unfortunately, something we always find ourselves coming back to is just the old school ways they do things, or unwillingness to really change and adapt to times. And every time they'll show a glimpse of it, we get excited, and then just kind of goes back. Like, we all kind of relatively got excited about signing Boye Mafe. It's a signing. There's some upside there. It's a clear position of need, but then you look at how the contract was structured, and it's a shitload of money early on for no reason, and it's just their same old things again that make it really harder for them to continue to field a better team in the current. And you just kind of go back down into your black hole and just wondering when things are going to change until they give you the next little sign of hope. And I think that's the biggest frustration here that we continue to deal with, is just the old school ways time and time again, and their unwillingness to change and adapt. And when you are unwilling to change and adapt, you are going to get left behind so extremely fast. And the Bengals are lucky they have some high powered world-class players on offense to drag them to relevancy, but that's a very rare situation that's not going to be around forever. So it's kind of hard to have that confidence you really want.
Yeah, I'll say on the note of people constantly say, "Oh, well, guys, like billionaires don't have $1 billion in cash. That's not what being a billionaire means." And it's like, okay, guys, but the thing about being a billionaire is your word and your deal is as good as gold, right? Like, you and I can't just walk out and get a $500,000 loan, but those guys can get that kind of work, right? And if you want to look any farther than a team who has invested in winning over the years, the Patriots, they didn't just have a bunch of cash that Robert Kraft said, "Hey, I've got a bunch of money just sitting around. Let me just throw this at the organization." They did some interesting things with Tom Brady, but this is not what that's about. This is about them doing things like selling 3% of their ownership stake. That's not a majority stake. They're not going to have any influence. They're along like a real estate investment. They're just along for the ride. They want to give you the cash, be hands off, put it in a portfolio in a drawer, and then leave it for 5 to 10 years and cash out, right? But they got $270 million for that 3%, right? So that's the thing, is if you need a cash infusion, those are available to you. And if you don't want to give ownership, you can always put up your assets for collateral as loans. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he didn't put up $40 billion cash. He said, "I've got Tesla stock, so I'm good for the loan. If we need to, I'll sell that." And they said, "Okay, here's $40 billion to buy it." That's how it works for rich people. So we don't need to make excuses for them. They can pull these levers. They can take these avenues. They are available to them. They just choose not to. They adhere to a purist, idealist, team, family friendly, like family owned, fun, atmosphere oriented. We're in it together. We're going to own 100% of the team. This is going to be a pure thing with Paul Brown. And I get that. But like you said, if you want to be actually competitive, I always go back to other teams are stock traders using computers and you're still using the newspaper, right? Like, people are making 1,000 or 10,000 trades before you even figure out what you want to do that day, right? So like, you can tell me you're being competitive in that market and you're doing it the true and pure way, but eventually, like you said, you have to adapt to things to the modern way, particularly for the Bengals. Contracts. Again, we see, what was the deal with Trey Hendrickson? Oh, I bet they felt vindicated, and they had friends of the team saying, "Oh man, I guess Trey Hendrickson really was that hard and no one wanted to give him that money." And it's like, well, reportedly there were 4 teams. The Colts reportedly thought they were kind of close on Trey Hendrickson, so they must have been close to that number. But Baltimore comes through with 2 years, $30 million. That's all it took for Trey Hendrickson to sign that deal. And that's what we were saying the whole time. And the reason he wasn't going to get that franchise tag. So there was a question about the franchise tag. You remember you asked me what happens. I said, there's no way they sign him to a deal. There's no way they franchise tag him. Because if they didn't want to give him 28 or 30, if they didn't want to give him 28 million last year before he got hurt, after he got hurt, they weren't going to give him 30. But there are these other teams out there that were willing to give that. And that's not saying that they should give that money to Trey Hendrickson. It's just second year guarantees they need to get to.
Wait, let's highlight this comment. Because Roberto, you must be new to the channel, brother, or you must not know who I am. Who's a bootlicker? First and foremost, brother, not me. Not me.
What about I literally just
every single time that I jump on this show and I speak facts, y'all sit up here and y'all say, "Oh, you're being too negative," or something. Not everybody, but people have told me that in the past. I'm letting my team cook. You ain't even let me cook yet. I ain't even get the stir fry ready. You calling this show a bootlicker? So I take a little offense to that because the name of the show is The Sit Down, right? The Sit Down, State of Jungle Malik. But that's the YouTube channel, brother. Relax, calm down. We gonna talk the real. But nobody on this damn panel is a bootlicker. I can promise you that. But I hope you hold on to your horses. I hope you stand firm on your opinion because I'm gonna cook in a little bit. But Logan, Daniel, feel free to say what you got to say.
No, I mean, I kind of said my thoughts about this whole situation before. They just have to adapt, man. And the longer they continue not to, the bigger hole they're going to continue to dig themselves.
Yeah, completely. And I don't know if we want to get to some more of these super chats.
Yeah, let's get to the 2 super chats beforehand because we want to make sure we get to them because before I cook Roberto up real quick.
So we had the question from Fuzzy Balls, great name, and he said talked about DJ Reader's a free agent right now. DJ Reader in 2025 was double teamed more than any other player in the NFL, 58% of snaps. So of course his production would be down. It frees up for other guys. I'm guessing he's asking, would you guys want DJ Reader on the Bengals? What's your guys' thoughts on that?
First and foremost, Fuzzy Balls, thank you for the super chat.
Yes,
Again,
sir.
You didn't have to, brother. We appreciate everybody who's doing this. We appreciate it. We're trying to find new ways to advance our YouTube channel and get more eyes out there. Apparently, YouTube is pushing certain channels that do certain things, and again, we want to make sure we get this out here, man. But let's get to Fuzzy Balls chat. Let me just say this real quick. I'm a big fan of bringing DJ Reader back potentially. I think you've been searching for that nose tackle since he left. I believe in the promise of TJ Slayton. However, obviously DJ Reader's older now at this point. You don't really know what you're going to get game in and game out from him, but DJ Reader's good at what he's good at, right? You know that you get an effective run stopper. I think that he actually offers more from a pass rush standpoint than TJ Slayton as well. But you're really not bringing DJ Reader in here to be a guy to rush the passer. You're more so bring him in here as a guy to kind of fortify the run defense.
Yeah, I think for me when it comes to DJ Reader, I mean, coming into free agency, I wasn't like super excited about the thought of adding DJ Reader, but we're at the point where like shit, I'll take whatever upgrade you can get. Right. You know what I mean? And I think he would be an upgrade over Slayton. I think it's a massive like game changing difference, but he's a good player that would do a lot of things well. When it comes to the whole double team thing, I don't think he would. He's that highly double teamed in true situations that require double teams. And when you play in the interior of the offensive line or on the defensive line, the offensive line's going to combo block you and move up, and that's going to get. That's going to look like a double team a lot when really it's just not. I'm not saying he's not getting double teamed a lot, but he's a nose tackle. He's going to get double. They're going to try to move him off the ball. That's the whole point of his position is to not allow that to happen. So while that is a good thing to just know, it's not a big factor that really changes much.
Let's get to that third super chat.
Yeah, this third super chat was from KP from KC. He said, where are the no franchise tag guys at? I'm guessing he's talking about Trey Hendrickson, right?
I assume maybe just the fact that we kind of have alluded to the fact they weren't going to do it time and time again. And it's exactly what Evan said earlier, man. It just wasn't a realistic outcome for them. It's just it's not something. I mean, obviously the whole thing came out like maybe it was in his clause before, and even if it was, like it just was not going to happen. Like you said, they weren't comfortable with him at a price before. Why would they be comfortable with him at a higher price after he got hurt? There just wasn't much that aligned.
And one last thing to note on that, like you're playing a risky game of, the player as well as, the mentality. Obviously, the player Trey Hendrickson is a phenomenal player, but there does come a mental side in it, right? Especially with the whole saga of Trey Hendrickson. So they don't know necessarily how it would have played out if you franchise tag him another season. So all around, good on him for getting his 4-year contract.
Yeah. So before I continue the Trey Hendrickson, if you guys could do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWS studios. Again, this is day 3 of NFL free agency. We've been live every single day this week. We'll be live again tomorrow, 7 p.m. to discuss all the happenings or non-happenings of NFL free agency, and Friday as well to wrap it up. And then we'll be going forward with State of the Jungle. But someone asked me in a question, Malik, you had some Jalen Carter info that you said you were going to share that you chose not, that you didn't. Yeah, let me just put it this way. It's not great info, and I don't want to be in the business of ruining. I got more information last night. I don't want to be in the business of ruining. It's nothing terrible, but let's just say that it's a reason why the Eagles don't want to commit a lot of money to him, and a lot of it has to be from an effort standpoint. The one thing I will shed on you guys is it's been like missing practices and stuff like that, and they think that there's a little bit of some maturity issues there, and it was to a point where he was held out of a couple of games last year, and it was more so behavioral reasons than they may have let on, and his agent has been sort of hammering the Eagles for a contract extension for him probably since he was eligible, and the Eagles are just like, we don't really know if we want to deal with that. So now that they've allocated all those resources to Jordan Davis, they're looking at this very, very carefully, trying to figure out what the next move is. But the potential trade for a Jalen Carter 100% is on the table. That report from Jeremy Fowler is absolutely accurate. We'll see what comes of it. Again, I think the guy has all the potential in the world. The question is, does he know that he has all the potential in the world? Does he know that he has the ability to be one of the greats? And so we'll see from there. Let's talk about Trey Hendrickson. Listen, I am all for players having to get their money's worth. I'm all for players having to make bread. I'm all for all that. And I look at it, man, and I say to myself, Trey, you kind of shot yourself in the foot here a little bit to a degree. And certainly he doesn't give a fuck about my opinion. We've come across each other several times. And I want you to highlight Roberto's comments too, because I don't give a fuck how long you've been watching the Bengals, respectfully, brother. I don't. You don't come on this show being disrespectful. That's the only thing I ask. At the end of the day, I think that Trey Hendrickson, I think that he gets characterized as disingenuous here. I think he gets characterized by a lot of Bengals fans now as a little bit of a traitor, as a little bit of a liar, because he made the statement, I want to help Cincinnati win a Super Bowl, no matter if it's me being on this team, right? Or me being traded elsewhere and it gets the Bengals draft picks, draft capital. Now it takes two to tango, right? So the storyline behind this all, again, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, guys. When I jump on the show, I don't spitball and just say things. I have been close to Trey's people. I have some inside knowledge on what's going on. I've also talked to people with the Bengals, and it's the God's honest truth is what happened. The Bengals offer initially, right, was $23 million for Trey Hendrickson when he asked for a pay raise. Remember, Trey was scheduled to make $18 million. They made an offer to him for $23 million. It's the reason why I put the Michael Jordan gif out there where he was wearing 23 and he was dunking, because there was a report from a news reporter that said, hey, he got offered $30 million. He did not get offered that. It got upwards to that in conversation, but the issue was never when the Bengals started getting closer to that $28 million offer, right? And Goodberry and I talked about this offline as well. When the Bengals got close to that $28 million offer, the $30 million offer, it was always going to be baked in with incentives to hit that number. That was never the issue. The issue here was the guarantees beyond year one. That was the issue here. And those were waters that the Cincinnati Bengals were never willing to deal in. They told him and his agent that they were going to send a final offer. Trey came to Cincinnati. He came to Jungle Jam last year. He was in a side room. Nobody knew he was really there. I went in there. I talked to his agent. I talked to him. We scheduled the show. You remember that, Evan, because I called you. I said we had Trey. And the whole point of us doing the show together was Trey was going to announce the breaking news on the sit-down show, the one-on-one interview. That was what the expectation was. That's why he was in town. Sunday hit. The Bengals sent the last offer. And again, remember, the first offer the Bengals made was 3 years, 2 years guaranteed. The third year was going to be an option. They backed out of that, and they sent him the initial offer. It was upped still. It was about the $28 million a year, but it was guaranteed. The year 2, year 3 were not guarantees. That was a non-starter for Trey. That is why Trey Hendrickson left, went to Florida, posted emotionally on his story. And I know that because me and his agent were talking to each other hand in hand, and we were trying to figure out what the hell was going on, right? We were trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And he said, man, I'm sorry. I can get you this guy. I can get you that guy. I can do. And I said, nope, we'll nix it for the day. We'll do another show. We'll figure it out. when Trey does sign, but Trey was upset. Trey left Cincinnati. Trey went home to Florida, and that was that. The next thing, the Bengals went to him and they said, you know what, we'll give you a $15 million pay raise to make you happy. Trey was happy. Well, he wasn't really happy, but he was, at that point, he was done with Cincinnati. When they gave him the $15 million pay raise, from my understanding from talking to his people, that he was going to test the free agency market. The Bengals were not going to franchise tag him. After a while, they started thinking about maybe we should franchise tag him. Those conversations started to begin, those murmurs as the season went on. Obviously, he got hurt and all that stuff like that. But then those quickly died out. But let me take you back really quickly for the folks that want to know why the Bengals didn't trade him. The Bengals considered trading Trey Hendrickson when they first said, hey, we are going to trade Trey, or we're going to allow him to seek a trade. They said Trey and his agent will allow you guys to seek a trade. Trey and his agent had teams that were interested. When those teams called the Bengals said, we want a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. Team said, click, not interested. The Bengals said, we want a first-round pick. We want a first-round pick. As it got closer to the draft, the Bengals started saying, we'll consider a second-round pick. There were teams that had interest in Trey Hendrickson at a second-round pick value. Guess what? The Bengals got cold feet. The Bengals did similar to what the Ravens did. They were never in agreement with anybody, but they had offers on the table. They had teams that were interested. They said, nope, we'll keep Trey. They stopped taking phone calls. The draft proceeded, and then everything else played out the way that I just said it played out. I'm sorry that my timeline was not, inaccurate, I would say, but that's sort of what happened. They backed out from the trade situations. They told Trey, hey, you know what, we're gonna extend you. None of that stuff took place. And then it led us to where we are right now. That all being said, man, I'm not even on the Trey thing right now. I'll say this, and Jake Lisco talked about this. A lot of people talked about this. Nobody, right? Nobody can blame Trey for doing what was best for him. But the next part of that is, you can't continue to shoot yourselves in the foot and not deal in the reality of being able to attract premium talent here because you're unwilling to guarantee money past year one. It puts you at a disadvantage. It does.
Preach.
Time and time again. And I look at it and I say, it's not that players don't want to come to Cincinnati. Who wouldn't want to play with Joe Burrow? Who wouldn't want to play with Jamar Chase? Who wouldn't want to play with T. Higgins? Who wouldn't want to play with guys who are so freaking talented? Right? Who wouldn't want to? It's not that. And that's why I had an epiphany. We sit on this show and we talk a lot about Zach Taylor or his issues as a play caller, and he certainly has his issues. But he's liked amongst the players. That is something that I cannot deny. It's not something it's something I can't deny. However, don't matter who the defense coordinator is, who the offensive play caller is, I always come back to this. The front office makes it impossible to build a winner and have it be sustainable here in Cincinnati because of their inability to get out of their own way. They know what they know, they trust what they know, and they stick to what they know.
Everything has to line up perfectly.
Yeah. And even the Orlando Brown thing, I told y'all, people have crucified me. Oh, you said Bengals wouldn't land Orlando Brown. I done talked about this on show. I done talked about this with Orlando himself. He said it himself. Orlando Brown called the Bengals to be a left tackle of the Bengals. Orlando Brown called the Bengals to do that. But again, left tackle is a position the Bengals have valued. Quarterback is a position that the Bengals have valued. Wide receiver is a position the Bengals have valued. Offensive guard is not a position that the Bengals value. These waters with Trey Hendrickson, it got hairy. It's not all the Bengals' fault. The agent got greedy. The agent wanted more money after they negotiated a deal already, and he played above that deal. 2 seasons, 17 and a half sacks. Hey, the Bengals, I believe Trey Hendrickson would still be a Bengal if he didn't have who he has currently as an agent. I firmly believe that. And that might put me in hot water, but just so y'all know, I don't pull punches on the show for the sake of this is the genuine how I believe. I think both parties messed up with getting this done. I think both of these two sides look back and they say, hey, if you're Cincinnati, that was the best free agent we've ever had in our franchise history. The dude was an absolute sack artist. He elevated our defensive line. And do you think we maybe could have budged a little bit contractually? Maybe we could have made some guarantees. Because guess what? 17 and a half sacks doesn't just come off of Walmart shelves. They just don't. They don't. And you can't tell me that, hey, we're unwilling to guarantee money to everybody because you did it for Joe Burrow, you did it for Jamar Chase. You're willing to do it for premium talent. What you're telling Trey Hendrickson is he's not a premium talent. Even if you say he is, your actions say something different.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides are in the wrong for this, though. It did not have to play out the way it has. It did not. You can't negotiate in bad faith. You did not have to guarantee so much money to Boye Mafia in year one, so his year one cap hit was so impactful to guess what? Now it stops you from being able to deal with more free agents and want to be able to grab more talent. Guess what? We often talk about the draft, but we say, guess what? NFL draft is more than just round one. Guess what? Extensions and signing free agents are more than just year one. You can do more beyond that. And I get what the Bengals motto is. We want to make sure we're never in cap hell. We want to make sure we can always control what it is that we want to do from a roster standpoint. That's why the Bengals don't have to do a lot of contract restructures. But that's also why you're not able to always retain the guys you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? Some of these agents are realizing, hey, are you willing to guarantee money past year one? Are you willing to just let this guy walk? You did it with Jesse. And now I'm done with talking about Jesse Bates because Brian Cook, very good signing, Bengals. But don't believe for a second, oh, he signed with Cincinnati and he let us do the cap year one thing because I think it was also an emotional tie to the city and him wanting to come back. And I just think it just was the perfect situation.
And that's what they rely on. The Orlando situation. You can't rely on everything to be perfect for you to finally make an investment. If you trust yourself, this is the part that I never get. If you trust yourself so much to reach on guys by a round or two or three, whether that's Demetrius Knight, Jackson Carman, Drew Sample, you clearly have a lot of faith in your player evaluation skills. Why does that never translate to free agency? Yep. Why do they never have, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're probably going to have to spend a lot on this guy, but we really like this guy, and we really think he's going to be a game changer for us. Why is it never that in free agency?
One thing I think to that point, you know what I honestly think? I think sometimes, when you turn on the tape of guys and you go in with a preconceived notion, right? All right, I know I need a safety. Okay, then you watch his film, and you're looking at play. You see missed tackle, click through, whatever. You see – okay, missed tackle again, whatever. Then you see an interception. Oh, hold on, Geno Stone. Hold on. Interception against Joe Burrow. Hold on. All right, big check mark. I think sometimes they think that they can identify the lower level guys and they see the positives and, okay, I can turn that guy. Or if we get those 5 plays for the rest of the game, this guy's a star for us. And I honestly think, same thing with Oren Burks, right? I think Oren Burks and these lower level guys, all right, TJ Slayton, these guys are great plays. I think we can pay them a little bit less, and I think those guys will be great for us. So that's just what I think with their thought process on
something that's funny about that is despite having like a national scouting department that looks throughout the year after, when draft season's over, you're starting to look at NFL guys who are going to be upcoming free agents, right? To see who's going to be a good fit. It's a great time to identify guys like Trey Hendrickson, guys like Mike Gesicki that are underutilized in their roles that can help fit yours, right? Nate Tice was somebody who pointed this out, that if you look at team free agent signings, a lot of times the guys they sign had a great game against them the year prior because that sticks out to them, just like you were talking about, right? They see these instances, this small exposure, but it has big impact on them. It always bugs me because I particularly look at the Bengals. It's very easy to self-scout and see the positions they're not good at developing or that they're not good at drafting, right? You get a little bit more certainty in the NFL about what a player is as a professional, whether that is, even if it is a more cap ceiling, more of an NFL average baseline, right? I just don't understand why there's not that self-scouting and then go, okay, we've got this information. What do we do now to change our process? It's like they will verbally acknowledge, yes, we have this issue, and then not do anything to change it. It's the Patrick Starr when he's trying to get the fucking ID in the wallet from the Manta Ray guy. And he's like, but this is your wallet. And they're like, yeah, dude, you're right. We got to change something. And you're like, so change something, right? And they're like, no, we don't need to change anything. We love our process. It's like,
one thing I want to touch on real quickly.
Yeah.
Is I think sometimes the ability or the inability, I would say, to get out of your own way, not sometimes, it always hurts this team. But you know what's so funny? When they have stepped outside of their comfort zone, it's typically worked for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or at least as of recent. They stepped out of their comfort zone 2021 season, 2020 off season, and they said, you know what, we're going to dip in the free agency waters and we're going to try to basically build this defense up, build this team up by, being aggressive in free agency within the scope of what they normally do, aggression, right? And it worked for them. It had led to a Super Bowl bid. It led to a resurgence in the fan base and roar the jungle and rule the jungle and all that stuff. And it worked for them. And then they said, nope, we're not doing it again. Could you imagine? Maybe they go out and they say, we're willing now to guarantee money in year 2 of a contract. Who are you able to keep? You're always looking ahead. You're always looking at the contracts that it could affect down the road, but you're not focused on the right here, right now. You can still cut players. You can still restructure contracts. And that's what makes me think. I feel like sometimes we're like cave people in Cincinnati to a degree. What I mean by that is somebody shows us fire. Oh, fire? We're able to make that. We can make a fire. Oh, technology. That's a thing. I don't think that they've had somebody, or at least they've allowed someone to come into the building that tells them, hey, I'll just be your cap guy. Let me come in.
Katie would never.
Right.
Katie would never.
You have lawyers and the family, and sometimes they think that, and I get the thought process, I promise you. It is hard to change, especially when you own a business and you believe you've built this thing up and you know what you know. But guess what, guys? How long have the Bengals been around? Since 1971, 72, right? You have never won a championship. You've been to a Super Bowl, 3 times in franchise history? You lost twice to the 49ers. You lost to the Rams. Mm-hmm. And since you've been alive, you have not hoisted a Lombardi trophy. Don't you think maybe you should allow somebody different to come in and maybe help you guys navigate the contract situation? Because I feel like the Bengals are so close, but they die on the weirdest hills.
Yes.
They die on the weirdest hills. Like, yes, I'm celebrating Brian Cook. Yes, I'm celebrating Boye Mafe. But in your existence, since 1968, damn. Yeah, I messed that up. But they've been around since 1968. And you mean to tell me in all your existence, you have not hoisted a championship and you just keep going about your process the same way, not really adapting, or you are adapting, but you're adapting almost every decade instead of every year. And you know what my biggest fear is? They do this infusion of talent on the defense side of the ball. You know what good teams do? Good teams say to ourselves, here's what good teams say. They say, every year, we're going to evaluate the roster. Every year, we're going to find ways to get better. Every year, we're going to find ways to get better and get better in free agency, get better in the draft, get better in trade scenarios, acquiring talent that might get cut at the end of preseason, right? At the end of preseason, but we think that they can help our roster because we have a hole here. Like, there is phases, right? Howie Roseman gave me a great answer when I talked about his approach to roster construction. And he said it's not just a 6-month thing. It's a all year round thing. It's looking at the roster. And Howie didn't always do things right. He used to suck at a general manager. He lost the position. He got regulated to scout duties again, but still held the general manager title for the Eagles. Everybody tell you he was in the doghouse. And guess what? Then he got the position back, and then he started getting autonomy again. Then he learned, and he started being aggressive. Then he started changing things. And I think first things first is you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to change, and not just at a decade at a time. Not just at a decade at a time. And I think where I fall with the Trey Hendrickson conversation is, I get if you don't want to pay a 32-year-old X amount of money. But I just think it brought so much bad negativity to the team the last 2 years, and it didn't have to be.
Just cut them loose at that point.
Yeah, it
or
didn't
trade
have
him.
to be.
Get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now it's another player that teams were interested in that you could have traded for, and you chose not to. Right? You chose not to. You let him walk out the door for nothing. This is the Joe Burrow era, the Jamar Chase era, the T. Higgins era. When are you going to say we're all into winning a championship? Go win one time and see what manifests from it. Look what comes from it. Go in one time. You called yourselves going in last year by bringing in Dalton Reisner and bringing in, Noah Fant, and those were moves that I respected. I was screaming from the mountaintop to bring those guys in. No, it didn't work out. Dalton Reisner did. But at the end of the day, man, like you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to stop shooting yourselves in the foot beyond just, hey, we're only going to guarantee money in year one. What else after that, man? Sometimes you get talent that's just worth it. You get talent in here that's just worth it. Evan.
Yeah, I just to add to your point, because I think you said a lot there that was really good. You have to be a good steward, right? Yeah. You care about this team, right? And that's the thing is this all comes from a place of love, but you're gripping too tight to where you're suffocating your coaches, your players. They don't get the resources they need to operate because you have a death grip on the control stick, right? And that hinders you as a team and your ability to operate. That makes things so much harder on you. And then you place more financial restrictions on yourself. Like, that's a really tough place to operate. And an analogy I would use is like, hey, if you inherited a stock portfolio from your parents, when they pass away, or like British families used to inherit the giant manors that had been their families for hundreds of years, and they make some bad investments and they're about to lose the place. Eventually, you got to either be like, hey, I'm going to let this place keep bleeding until we lose it, or until this means nothing, or it's a shell of its former self, and it's in ruin and decay and not anything resembling the thing you fell in love with that you wanted to protect in the first place. Or you say, hey, maybe I'm not a financial investor. Maybe I'm not the best at it. I tried to do it myself, tried to be true, tried to do what my father or my mother or my family did, right? And that's okay, because I'm still going to be a good steward and protect it, right? I'm going to get the right people in place to take care of this thing, to help it grow, to be better, to be what they wanted it to be, what they wanted it to grow into. That's how I see it. And at some point, because the contract thing has been going for years and years, it's not been a recent thing. And they are just not evolving fast enough in that department right now to be competitive in that front. And we see it every single free agency where it hinders them. And even the deals they do sign, we go, yeah, that's a Bengals deal. Yeah, they want all the money in year one. They want like a 2 or 3 year deal with not a lot of guarantees that they can just immediately jump out if they freak out or don't feel good about it. Like, sometimes you got to take some risks. And in any business, you're going to have lean years. You're going to have bigger years where you have larger expenses. Like, any asset you have is like that. Owning a house, sometimes you got to repair the roof. Other years, you don't have a lot of repairs. Like, that's just the nature and the cost of doing business. And to act like you've got this hard line that you'll never cross and that you won't be flexible as things change, as the cap changes, as circumstances and available players change, you have to be willing to pivot from your strategies and from your beliefs in those instances. And I just don't have a lot of faith that right now the way they operate is good stewardship in that sense.
Yeah. Daniel?
Yeah, no,
let's get to some. So we got these super chats, and I think Michael Rolfe just did something.
Yeah, Michael Rolfe, we appreciate you, man. You just joined the TWSN community. You guys can all join the TWSN community if you guys want, the sit down community down below. But the question I want to get to.
Appreciate you too, man. You're the first community member. I want to make sure we highlight that. You're the first community member. Greatly appreciate that. There, I'm going to start putting my betting picks and a bunch of other stuff is there. as well. So man, I'm pretty excited about it, man. Appreciate you, Michael Ruff. I know you DM me a couple times about us doing more stuff, so I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you, man. We got another super chat from Fuzzy Balls. We appreciate you, man. So he said, if the Bengals restructure Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, it would free up 45 to 55 million in cap space. The Bengals aren't all in. And this is something you've seen from pretty much all the other great stars in the league, right? Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. What's you guys' thoughts on the Bengals not restructuring these guys so far?
They don't want to do it because
They
the reason
never will.
is because what a restructure is it's not a reworking of the contract per se. What it is we're going to take X sum of money and we're going to convert it to a signing bonus. And so what that allows you to do is that allows you, if they have 3 years left on this deal, let's say I convert, to make it easy, $30 million a year contract to a signing bonus. I can spread that out over the years of your contract, 10, 10, 10. So now that cap hit's not all hitting in 1 year, right? That helps you get more financially flexible, or you can do it in the years that you want and kind of move it around. One, they don't do that. They're not flexible about how they move their cap hits around like that. And two, that's just not how they've been operating. They don't want to operate that way. And they've shown it time and time again. They don't want to pay the cash out up front in a signing bonus. Like that's just not, yeah, they want to have the 1 year guaranteed, but they don't want to just suddenly pay out $60 million, $45 million in cash next month. Like that's just not what they want to do. They constantly want, remember we started a whole issue over Shamar because of like, you wanted to be paid in March and not September. Like it's like the delivery days matter to them. All the mechanisms for all the contracts that got done. I think the Mafe contract had a bunch of like workout bonuses and roster bonuses and guarantee, and those aren't paid out or realized or cap actualized until they are realized. So like that's when I look at that and I'm just like, I don't see them wanting to make such a large outright investment.
I also don't think they have to do that, right?
They don't think they do. They think they have the assets right now to get what they need, which is alarming.
You know what the next part about this is, right? Is like, I think, well, I have a question for you, Evan. Do you think that the restructuring or the thought behind a quote unquote restructure of a contract has to do with, again, kicking money down the road that would be,
but I talked about the lean years and the big years of the business, right? And so if you are having the foresight that teams like the Eagles do, you have this team, you have these instances where, hey, we're going to have a lot of draft picks in this iteration. We're going to have a lot of guys aging out or a lot of contracts ending at the same time here, right? You push that money to those times. So like we were talking about when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase had rookie deals, we were talking about constantly front loading large deals for veterans, because then if you front loaded it on the last year or two of those veteran deals, you would be paying them dirt cheap. At the meantime, as soon as you had to get that contract for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in. So as soon as you signed that extension, you had your veterans on a low cost control contract. So you try and push that money around of like, hey, we got this core group of guys that we're going to have to pay in 3 years. That's going to be our money allocation. And then in that instance, you do things like trade players that you don't want on your roster instead of stringing them along for 3 years and creating a whole bunch of problems. You get a second round or a third round pick, and now you have those rookies. Look at the Rams. They made all these trades. They made all this cash investment on these guys, and then they said, let's get 12 draft picks. And now suddenly they have all these guys on cost-controlled contracts performing well. They didn't need to hit on all 12. They hit on 5 or 6, and they're getting solid play out of them, and that's what matters because it coalesces with where they're spending their money now. And so it's just having that foresight of doing the math, but again, that requires being flexible in how you structure contracts, where you push money around, which means you have to be comfortable not only front-loading contracts, but sometimes backloading them. And that's where they feel uncomfortable, even with some of these other star players.
Yeah, I think the next thing that I kind of want to touch on, again, if you guys are new here to the channel, please subscribe. We greatly appreciate you. Make sure you don't miss when we go live, but also give this video a like. So you guys, if you guys like the content here, but also subscribe so you guys never miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. I want to talk about something really quickly because I feel like we're being overly, we kind of beat them up a little bit just now. We did.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with the Brian Cook move. I can't state that enough. The safety play for Cincinnati has been abysmal the last few years.
Yeah.
And, I talked about it, talked to folks at the Combine. I got the notion again. That's why I did the free agency videos. Even before the season ended, Brian Cook was going to be a guy that they were going to be interested in. And certainly he was. I thought that was a very, very good move. I want to give them their praise because it looks doom and gloom in day 3 because inactivity means you're falling behind. I know that the thought process, that's how the thought process works. There's still some free agents out there. There are still some players out there that you can still add to this team, right? I personally didn't want to see the Bengals go out there and overspend for a linebacker. I was very disappointed to not see them make a play on a guy like Leo Chenal, right? In dealing those waters. But again, it comes back to guarantees and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I think this is a larger conversation. I think the annoyance comes from seeing a guy like Osa Odigizua just get traded from the Dallas Cowboys to the 49ers for a 3rd round pick. And it's like, you have a need there. Why wouldn't you do that? Now, maybe they are targeting that position in the draft. You got to think they're targeting that position in the draft. I talked about here at a nauseating pace about a trade that I would love for the Bengals to make. You guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about it, but I personally would love that. But I want to talk about the moves that the Bengals can still make. Let's talk about the positives. Let's talk about some of the moves that the Cincinnati Bengals could still make to help impact this team. They had a very fast start to free agency with Brian Cook and Boye Mafe. 2 very good moves. You understand the thought process behind, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to add Boye Mafe because we're going to be like, hey, that's our Trey Hendrickson clone. That's going to be a guy that they believe that they can get more out of, right? And then you also got to wonder what the plan there is for Shamar Stewart and his usage next year. Yes, they did like Chenal. That was a guy that they liked. I know there were some reports out there that they weren't in on Devin Lloyd. Jeremy Fowler reported. I even heard that they liked Devin Lloyd and they were in on him. I don't know what capacity in terms of getting to the nuances and being right down to the wire with it. I don't typically ask all that kind of stuff. I just say, hey, what players are you interested in? What's the realistic challenges of them, coming to Cincinnati, so on and so forth. I try not to bug the people that I know. Daniel was there the other day when I was having a conversation with one of my league contacts. And, he's like, dude, why didn't you just call me beforehand? And beginning, I was like, bro, because it's not all about breaking news for me. It's about, I just want to get some intel on what's going on. But at the end of the day, let's talk about some of the moves the Bengals can still make, guys. Let's talk about some of the moves the Bengals can still make. Damn, I'm putting the ball in your court.
Oh.
But before, sorry. We just got another channel member.
Shout out. Yeah, shout out Nick. Shout out Nick.
My guy, man. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, as the season goes on, I'm probably going to start ramping it up. I'll probably do some insider lives and let you guys know some news I'm hearing if you guys would like to hear that. I hear news all throughout the season. I just kind of just withhold that information, and maybe I just need to start talking about it a lot more because there's definitely things you hear throughout the year leading up to training camp, but more importantly, you hear things leading up to obviously the draft and so on and so forth. But I also give out UFC plays and stuff like that. So Daniel will be helping me out with that as well. So greatly appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate you guys. Daniel, my bad.
No, you're good. And once again, we can talk about some of these names. I'm curious to hear some of your guys' names. For me, the way I look at it is you've got some positions you need to fill. Obviously, down the road, maybe a swing tackle or something. But probably the positions I would prioritize is I would look for a linebacker. I would also be looking, to the cornerback room. And maybe this is me just trying to be too positive because the Bengals tend to just kick that down the road sometimes, right? Okay, we'll get the second wave, the third wave, even the fourth wave. But a guy I think could be interesting is a guy like Roger McCreary, right? I think that nickel spot is something I'm interested in. We talked about Jalen Davis. They gave him a 1-year contract, 1.4. Okay, he's a role player. But I would be looking to just add depth there because when you look at it, Marco Wilson's a free agent. You got DJ, Dax, and Jalen Davis. Evan, I think you've talked about the cornerback position a lot. You need depth at that spot. And McCreary is a guy that was strictly a nickel guy for Tennessee. He got traded or he was with the Rams and he played outside for them, right? So he's got the ability to play slot. He's got the ability to play outside. And for me, when I watched him, especially, this past year from Tennessee to LA, I saw his speed, right? He's more of a smaller, corner, but when he's got the ability to come in on a blitz, you see that almost Mike Hilton-esque speed and his ability to maneuver in. I rarely saw a running back able to block him. And once again, the Rams didn't use him much there, but I see the potential with him. And this is a guy at the corner spot. He's not 30 years old. He's not 33. you're getting a young guy potentially in his prime. So I don't necessarily know what he would make. I know he wasn't on the biggest contract last year, so he's a guy that I would definitely be interested in.
Yeah, I think two names for me. I want to go back to the linebacker room a little bit and just discuss maybe the newest free agent, Jack Gibbons from the New England Patriots, was just non-tendered by them a little bit before the show started, and a little bit of a, I don't want to say surprising move, because New England has shown the ability to get to where they were for a reason, but he led their team in tackles last year. Last year he posted over a 62 PF grade in run defense, pass rush, and coverage grade. He's just a really solid all-around guy. He still even contributes on special teams for New England. So he kind of seems like a guy that you can bring in and just raise the floor of that room. I don't think he's going to come in and, be some game wrecker, but he's played in big games. He's contributed in big games. He's made plays on, all levels of the field. He even continues to make plays in special teams, which again, when you're just bringing in guys like this, if you have a guy that just led a team in tackles, plays, in the box for them, and then still plays special teams, that's just a good guy to have around. I really wanted to talk about Roger McCreary too, so I'm glad Daniel brought that up. But another kind of vibe for that is something I've been kind of teetering with throughout this whole offseason, and it's adding another safety. And I still think the avenue is there for them to add another one and potentially draft one with how thin this safety room is. But one guy that I know I've kind of been drawn to recently is Jaquan Brisker. And I know at first, we're talking about him, we're looking at free agents. I don't think he's the best fit, in general. He's not this free safety that we need. He's not a great coverage guy that we really need. So I understand the hesitation there. But now when you look at what we have now and you settle down and you look at the roster, you have two quality safeties that can roam and play the back end. Jaquan Brisker is a leader on the line of scrimmage. That's where he makes his money. He's played in the slot. He plays in the box. That's where he is predominantly. And he's not good at free safety. I'm not saying to do that, but he is a guy that can come in and can split you in the box and take away some slot snaps for you, whether maybe you don't want to sign another slot corner in Jillian Davis. You let them split the times, or maybe you want to draft a slot corner and let them split the times. But Jaquan Brisker is just a guy that is a really, honestly, solid player when he's playing to his strengths near the line of scrimmage. I mean, over a 70 pass rush grade as a slot corner, over a 70 run defense grade twice in his career, 73 last year, just a sure tackler at the safety position. But again, when you use him to his strengths and make him probably more of a run defending slot, a box defending safety, I think you can get more returns out of him. And a team, I know he's probably looking for a bigger role somewhere, but if you give him a bigger role, you're probably going to have to ask him to do more things he's not really good at. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you ask people to do things they're not good at, they're probably not going to just randomly start being good at them. So I think the way the offseason has shaped out for the Bengals, adding a guy like Brisker who has a very clear strength near the line of scrimmage, which is something they could really use in a big time role, just makes sense. I know it's a little bit unconventional, but I just think he's a good player that fits their need in a more unique way than I thought at the beginning of free agency.
For sure. And we're going to get to Evans, in a second, but we got a couple things. First off, another member of the Sit Down supporter. We appreciate you. Fresh Taboo Mabu, I believe I probably butchered that name, but we appreciate you joining. Once again, we'll have a lot of content on there. And we had two super chats, right? One was from a little bit ago, Esther Wing. We appreciate you as always.
That's the GOAT right there.
That's
my GOAT. Y'all want to know about the MVP? That's Esther Wing right there. Me and her, we go way back at this point, but we got a chance to connect as well back when New Orleans, was it last year for Super Bowl, man? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Esther has been awesome. She's been awesome to me since I came to Cincinnati. She's the GOAT. Esther, you didn't have to do that. We still got to go on our lunch meeting. We still have to do that.
Once again, we appreciate it. And the question, or it was more of a statement from Esther, said Jamar had to threaten to leave for the deals to get done, talking about his contract. That should tell you everything about the process here, period. Burrow is checking in with players on how talks are going.
And if y'all think I'm an insider, no, Esther's an insider. Esther's the GOAT. So when she speaks, she's not just talking. That's why I was like, man, you need to put a super chat. Esther, we appreciate you. Esther's the GOAT, though. But yeah, I mean, it's the truth. She's speaking facts. That's the God's honest truth. What she's saying is she works very, very closely with players and she deals in those waters. She's the GOAT.
For sure. I mean, once again, it's the same conversation we were just having. We'll see if they're able to make some changes for the rest of free agency. We had another one once again, fuzzy balls again.
Fuzzy ball.
Wow. Man, you're cooking right now, brother. Man, don't give up your whole paycheck now. Hold on now. We appreciate you.
This was a draft question, or more of a draft statement. Said, my draft day 2 wish list is 2nd round Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech, and 3rd round Antonio Williams, Clemson wide receiver. Any thoughts on those two real quick?
I mean, just in general, I think they're both good players. I think if the Bengals are at a if the Bengals were going to get to a point where they'd really draft a linebacker and a receiver on day 2, I think the free agency might look a little different than what it's been so far, unfortunately. But I think Jacob Rodriguez silenced a lot of questions he had for him at the combine. I mean, absolutely kind of put on a show there respectfully, with nobody really kind of expected that from him at all whatsoever. Antonio Williams is a really good kind of slot player as well from Clemson, but continuing on free agency, there's still plenty of really solid receivers that make sense for the Bengals as well. I know it's not the biggest need in the world, but we're at the business of making this team better, and however that happens, it happens.
I got a question for y'all, because I wanted to before we going to talk about draft content. I know Evan's like, guys, we probably got war room coming up still. Let's relax on draft content, but hope you guys like my Evan impersonation there. I see. You know,
It's pretty good.
I'm telling. Look,
I thought that was him talking.
I was gonna say, Simone be like,
here's the deal, man. Here's the deal, guys. No, I want to talk about some free agents that are still available, guys. I know we want to talk about what we were talking about, but I still want to talk about some guys that are available still.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about Jonathan Allen real quick. Would y'all be interested in that at all?
Dude, give me Calais Campbell.
Everybody keeps wanting that.
I've wanted them for 4 years.
It's
man.
not happening at this point, probably.
Look,
And if he comes here, he'll just end up sucking.
He's been in the NFL for 18 seasons. He's had 30 plus pressures each of those years. Last year he played like 300 snaps. In 300 pass rush snaps, he was 11th among defensive interior linemen in sacks, 7th in hits, 18 hurries, along with 24 defensive stops. Like, dude's still a problem, and he only played 500 snaps. So you're telling me he's $6 million, just like the Bengals like. You don't have to pay him more than 1 year. That's an easy, no like future baggage attached, like no strings attached, 1 year, in and out. Get your defensive line, just a little bit of a solid player there that you can rotate in for 30 snaps a game, that you can feel really good about what you're getting out of him and just know that he's not going to be a complete liability. Dude's a monster in the trenches. Jadeveon Clowney, dude, like last year went crazy as a pass rusher, like probably his best season as a pass rusher, 19.1% pressure rate and 16.8% pass rush win rate. If you're not getting Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby, this Mafe is not going to be enough. You can't just tell me it's going to be Shamar Stewart, Miles Murphy's going to continue to take a step forward and everything's going to be right and dandy, and we're just going to add in some guys like Jordan Willis or oh God, who's my guy from the back defensive end
Currently?
from last year that I was always
Cam Sample?
Yes.
Oh.
Cam Sample was absolutely blanking on his name. Yeah. Dude, like, yeah, I don't want to see them be like, yeah, we've got our 3 guys we really like that we're going to rotate in, and now we're going to add a bunch of Cam Sample level Jordan Willis guys, like Will Clark guys on the edge, and that's going to be our backups. Like, I hate that strategy. This defensive line, it needs to be added to. It absolutely has to, with known quantities, like just floor level players.
You know, people talked about Cam Jordan on the live the other day, and that would typically interest me, but his best friend is who? Trey Hendrickson. And I know how he was talking. He was at the combine this year, and I overheard a couple I talked to him a few times, but over some conversations he was having, and he didn't seem to have the most greatest things to say about the Bengals. But like man, I look at it, man. I say there are some guys that can still help out this team, and I'm more so interested in guys that can be tweeners, because you have a need for backup at the edge spot, but you also have a need for the interior defensive line. I'm getting a little worried though, because the interior of the defensive line is getting we got like a lot of these pieces, and they're all kind of the similar player, respectfully. Like McKinley Jackson, BJ Hill, Chris Jenkins, Simone.
See, she thought she heard me talking about the super chats earlier and thought, yeah, no, that's Evan. I need to get in on this.
Man.
Your impression was too good.
Man, appreciate you, Simone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, but you still got some guys out here. Guys that I wouldn't typically be interested in, especially if a team that like the Buffalo Bills let this guy go, because, you know, we know the Buffalo's always scouring the defensive line market, but AJ Epineza, former first-round pick, like he's a guy that you can kind of move into the interior. You could also, I mean, I don't like him on the edge at all, but I'm just looking at some guys that you think can help raise the floor. I do agree. Calais Campbell at 40 years old when the season starts, probably. That's a guy that, again, you're probably getting a year out of, be a good
dude's hooping. Leader. Don't worry about it. Yeah, just pay him
man.
$6 million a mercenary. Be done. That's it. You ain't got to coach him. You ain't got to develop him. He just comes in, goes to work, does his business. Yeah. You ain't got to worry about Calais Campbell.
Yeah.
He'll probably coach up the rookies better than we've seen the Bengals do the last few years.
I don't know, and Logan, I'm going to talk about this. I don't know if there's a splash free agent pickup you can do right now. I think if you were to do one more splash move, it would probably have to, not unless you go after like a David Njoku or somebody like
Yeah,
that.
the offensive end, there's more splash.
It's more splash, but I think any splash that might happen might have to come from a trade if you were to deal in those waters. Guys, let me ask y'all this.
Mhm.
Is there a guy out there right now? I've been talking at a nauseating pace about guys that I personally would trade for, a guy that I would personally trade for. But is there a guy right now that you look at that is on a team that you'd entertain probably trading the 10th overall pick for?
No.
Like, that's a genuine question because here's my fear. My fear is the Bengals add a lower level defensive tackle and stuff like that. And then I think they get into free agency and they say, you know what? Let's go after the best tackle that's still on the board to get ahead of the Orlando Brown contract of the future. And then that guy is regulated to basically sitting.
You know, my biggest problem with this hypothetical
Yeah.
is because either they trade for a guy who's a blossoming guy, who's a young guy
Yeah.
that you have to give a contract to. But as we've seen, whether it's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, it doesn't matter if you're 25 years old and good, contract negotiations are still going to be pulling teeth, right? So then I'm like, okay, so you want to trade for a guy who's already got his contract in place, right? There's so few guys that a team just signed to a new contract and paid him top 3, top 5 money, and now they want to trade him, right? So it's like I struggle with that because if I had to think of them to trade for one, it'd probably be the latter, a guy already on a contract, but maybe just misused. And I struggle to.
Can I interest you in a player?
Please lay it on me.
Jalen Carter.
Do
Why
you
not?
feel comfortable with everything?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
But
You wanna
also,
know why?
do you believe the Bengals are the team? And again, I feel like I need to say 3 nice things about the Bengals because I feel like I'm
Say
being kind of harsh
three-
today.
three right now.
Like,
Three.
one of the greatest logos and uniform combinations in football.
Shout
Period.
out.
Agreed.
Love the 2 signings on Splash on day 1 of free agency. Where you be self-aware of your needs and then go out and address them.
Okay. I'm
They
hitting
did
with the LA
retain
Knight.
their
Yeah.
star players with Jamar and T and Joe Burrow. So hey, like credit where credit's due there. All right,
And they're loyal.
We did it. Yeah,
And they're loyal.
I don't know if I go that far.
Yeah. Come on. I got
I
it.
don't know.
We got 2 new supporters. We appreciate you guys. We had Christopher Hammaker. We appreciate you,
man.
Christopher.
Appreciate you guys. You guys are cooking tonight.
And then we
You
had
didn't, come on, man. I appreciate you. We appreciate you guys. Seriously, we're gonna cook up a lot of content for you guys on obviously the supporters channel, and this is a sit down community that we're building out. You guys have been supporting us for so long, and we appreciate you guys for even spending your Wednesdays with us, your Mondays, your 1 a.m.s with us, your midnights. We appreciate you guys being here every single time we go live. It means the world to us. But Logan, I kept saying
one more.
Logan,
Sorry, B Henry 8985. We appreciate you, B Henry. Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Logan, I promised you that I was going to let you go. I'm sorry. I've been kind of talking a lot.
I'm gonna let you finish.
I promise I'm going to let you finish.
No, the only thing that I was gonna touch on was you're kind of listing out some tweener guys, some guys that could raise the floor. Charles Omenihu, 6'5", 280. He was
Just signed to the Commanders.
never-
I'm
Yeah,
so
fuck
sorry.
you, Logan.
Yes,
God.
they're having
Oh,
such
I
a good
know.
offseason.
Yeah, they're snapping.
I'm sorry, it just happened. Yeah.
Oh my
One
God.
year, $4 million with upside of 7. I'm so sorry.
You
And was there anybody else that you had?
Nobody's really brought up Arnold Ebiketia at this point. I know everybody's kind of talking about him to a degree, but he's definitely not a tweener. Like Malik,
Did you see that report?
yeah. But just
What the? Like why?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't know. I was going to come on here and talk about Evan Neal too and being a fun little swing, but he's back in New York.
Would you guys trade number 10 for Jeffrey Simmons?
How old is he? What's his age?
He's got to be like late 20s. Like he's got to be.
I don't know if
let's
they.
see.
I don't know.
Because their whole reasoning for getting Franklin Myers is to pair them together. That's what they kept.
He's 28.
Yeah, but 10 is still Steve.
He's 28. He's already got a contract. He's at a position where you just plug him in. You know he's going to be a good player.
A
Would you do
great
it?
player.
I'm not against it.
Yeah.
Listen,
Because you have the knowledge of, hey,
Yes.
I know this guy is a good NFL player
Yes.
at the very floor.
yes. And right now you need guys. Let's call it what it is. Right now you need guys that are going to help this defense turn around right away. Yeah,
That's a guy.
You're gonna.
that's
a guy.
that's an immediate.
It's just at 10,
right.
we're really facing a trade back spot. I don't know if 10, I'm drafting Peter Woods.
Well, here's the
I
thing,
don't
right?
know if I'm comfortable with that.
If you draft any of these defensive tackles, pick your flavor at 10, right?
Yeah.
And he becomes Jeffrey Simmons, you're happy,
Yes.
right? But there's still a 50 to 60% chance that he doesn't become Jeffrey Simmons, or even greater than that, that it takes 3 to 5 years
Yeah,
to be Jeffrey
right,
Simmons.
right.
So what, in that case, why not just trade that 10th overall pick for Jeffrey Simmons?
Oh my God.
Then you just guarantee you got him there.
RC KHNT just cooked.
Well, let's see this.
He said sign Christian Wilkins. Sign Christian Wilkins.
Finish the rest of it.
So here's what you might be plugged in more. So let me say my ignorant thing first.
Yes.
Much like the Max Crosby shit went
Mhm.
sideways. We have the agent, the player, reporters all around.
Yeah.
NFL teams going, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
They got fucked. You don't hear that with Christian Wilkins. And that's me not knowing the situation. I'm just saying there's not as big of an outward outcry, which means it may not be as cut and dry for teams.
So I'll break it. I'll tell you guys the story. I've kind of
Yeah.
surfaced it on social media on X. Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby did not get along at all. Max Crosby had questions about Christian Wilkins' work ethic. You know, Max Crosby was the most Raider guy. And I didn't put that out there at the time, the name, because I didn't want Ravens fans or people think, oh, you're just saying that because he went to the Ravens. Yeah. Now I can say it. Max Crosby wasn't a fan of Christian Wilkins at all. He felt like he half-assed things. He felt like he didn't train the way that he should. That led to them not seeing eye to eye. There was an argument that took place with the said player. I won't say who the player is, allegedly, I'll say. But long story short, Christian Wilkins is a very playful guy, as y'all probably know that about. But Christian Wilkins is a very playful guy. And at the end of that argument, he kissed the player on the forehead. As like, all right, bro, like, all right, get out of here. That's not something I would have done. Let me just say, I am not kissing someone on the forehead after an argument, because you might punch me in my face. And if you punch me in my face, I'm glad to punch you in your face, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But he kissed him on the forehead. That led to an argument and a
I want Christian
basically.
Wilkins on the team more now.
And everyone basically said, yeah, like, you know, so there was some questions about the timeline in which he would return from, you know, I believe it was a foot injury. And when the timeline kept getting delayed, you know, Max Crosby was basically like, well, it's because you don't train and you don't approach this like a pro. You're not consistent with things, and so on and so forth. That's the truth about the Christian Wilkins situation. And again, I think Christian Wilkins is a very good player. I think he is a very good player. Is he weird? Yes. Is weird bad? Not necessarily.
He's a fun guy.
He was a fun guy.
I was going to say, I've seen some of his like sideline interactions and just playing around. In the right atmosphere and in the right context, that's good for team morale.
Mhm.
Like he's fucking around having a good time with his teammates on the sideline sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, as long as that's not like 2 minutes left in the game and like you got to be locked in and you're fucking around, like, or you're antagonizing your team to the point you're causing problems, right? But
Daniel,
Yeah,
you got two new.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was going to touch on Christian Wilkins. I think we had one from Esther Wing again. We appreciate you. Esther Wing said a bunch of pieces that don't equal whole yet. Laughing, yes, love Jalen Carter 1,000%. Jalen Carter, I think we talked about this, but Jalen Carter is he's a beast, and I think it really just depends on if the Eagles are, you know, obviously willing to trade him. And then we had another one from Houday MD. We appreciate you, both of you guys.
Thank you.
Don't see the question on here, but we appreciate the super chat nonetheless.
Can we just be honest with you more about the Jalen Carter thing? You know what? I'll shut the hell up. Daniel, you were about to go and I cut you off. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get better with this, guys.
No, you're good. I think when we look at defensive tackles, I think it really depends, because the free agency market is clearly dead for defense tackles. If you're talking about a true star right now, the rest of these guys, Jeffrey Simmons, I think is a star. And like I said, 28 years old. If the Titans are willing to trade,
right,
I think you have to pick up the phone. And same thing with the Jalen Carter. The Bengals are in a position right now. That is one of the biggest needs. And even, you know, if you look at some of the guys, some of the best scouts, I know PFF, when they look at these guys, Peter Woods, Caleb Banks, they're both saying both of these guys should be closer to the end of round 1 than they should be to pick number 10. So if there is no surefire top 5 pick defensive tackle, what are you looking at? You're waiting until next year's free agency class. So if I'm in the Bengals' shoes, what hurts a little phone call? And I do think that pick number 10 is valuable enough for other teams at least to be interested. And I think Simmons is a clear come in and is a top 5 player at the position. Carter is a clear come in and top 5 at the position. Outside of that, it just gets a little bit slim. And I believe we had another. Oh wow, Michael Rolfe.
Appreciate you,
Rolfe,
man.
okay.
We appreciate you, brother.
Cooking in the chat right now, man.
He said, and finally we can super chat the greatest show in free agency. Well done, fellas. We appreciate you. He said, if it were me, I'd throw pick 10 out there and see who bites first. Raiders with Crosby, Titans with Simmons, and Eagles with Carter.
Well, the issue here is and Logan, feel free to jump in at any point in time. The issue here is the Raiders still want 2 first-round picks from Max Crosby.
No thanks. Yeah.
The Raiders still want 2 first-round picks from Max
That might
Crosby.
drop to like a 1, 2, and a
I'm interested
4
to see
after
it.
a couple days if like nothing happens.
I'm
but
sorry, top
still
10,
a lot.
a 10th overall pick is very valuable.
Yeah.
You're getting a top, you're getting a top 10 player in the draft. You have your pick of the litter. You have your guy, and guys are going
And
to
a
fall.
5-year cost control contract,
Yes.
which matters.
Yes, it matters.
Especially
And so for me, there's still a name that I gush over personally, and that's Ruben Bain Jr. Ruben Bain Jr., I gush over him. It seems like the Titans are going to go running back at 4. So you wonder, will those chances of him landing at 10 be there? Yes, because the teams you have to worry about theoretically are the Commanders, but I think they might go linebacker. You also have to worry, or edge, they could go, but I think linebacker. You have the Chiefs, but I think Caleb Downs is probably staring them down the barrel, personally.
This is the tough part about backing yourself into a corner and
Yeah.
defensive tackle, though, because like if you say, hey, the value just isn't there, we like these other players where they fell, and suddenly we have to take a guy who's going to play meaningful snaps in the 3rd
Yeah.
round again.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, we're going to have Chris Jenkins and McKinley Jackson if he's active that week, and then this other guy who's going to be a rookie. And that's going to be how we play defensive tackle. You feel really bad about that. You don't feel good about that going forward. At the same time, if you go like, hey, all right, Sonny Mitchell, right? Like we want to get Sonny Styles. Sonny Mitchell. Jeez. God, where's
Sonny
the throw? There's a
Michel.
throwback.
What are
Yeah,
your
Sonny
thoughts?
Michel. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
man.
throwback name,
Patriots,
right?
Georgia.
I know, yeah. Well, that's Georgia. That's an Alabama, Georgia. That's a Georgia name to me.
Bad Evan.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give you
A lot of Jalen Carter talk
PTSD
is
there.
okay.
I'm not done.
But yeah, if you want to go that route, then you're like, man, now I'm really sad that we didn't get a defensive tackle. And also, we spent a 2nd round pick on Demetrius Knight and a 4th round on Barrett Carter. And we shouldn't draft Sonny Styles because we have these 2 guys. But you're still sitting there going, you don't want to fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy of, well, we put all this in there, so we shouldn't. At the same time, you can't help but look at that and go, man, 1 year after we just invested these resources in linebacker, we're already saying we need to use our most valuable asset to upgrade the position we thought we solved.
Right.
It's just tough. This is why we constantly say, don't back yourself into a corner. Don't reach on guys. Take the value, plug and play with free agency, and then let the value fall to you in the draft.
Here's my fear. Jalen Carter is not going to get flirted out there by Howie Roseman, and a team's not going to jump on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my fear. Like, I think pick 10 is very valuable. And I straight up asked, I said, hey, do you think that the Eagles would say yes if they got a phone call for pick number 10? And he said, yeah. He said, I think they'd be over the moon for it. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you hope that a team would call and offer that. And so again, everyone knows Jalen Carter's talent. And let me just be very, very clear about it. There's not too many guys that I view as true X factors in the league that can rip up an entire game plan. But I really believe at my core, it's not a hot take, guys. I really believe my core, Jalen Carter is a game changer at defensive tackle. I think the Bengals have been searching for a guy on the defensive line that could be a game wrecker. And Trey was a game wrecker, but he was a different kind of game wrecker.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you can phase Trey out. You can phase him out with an extra blocker, a tight end coming around, or a chip from a running back. What can you do from a dominant presence in the interior of the defensive line like Jalen Carter? Just think about the guys that are truly dominant. Think about the guys that we salivate over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every year, right? Byron Murphy was a guy the Bengals loved. You talk about Jeffrey Simmons. We're talking about Jeffrey Simmons. We're talking about how Cam Hayward consistently, even at his age, how old is Cam Hayward now? 30,
36 at least.
And he's still wrecking games.
He's a
Calais
star.
Campbell.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about Calais Campbell at 40 years old? Because that's a position where you could still dominate, especially when you understand the nuances and how to make it work for you. I think that Jalen Carter doesn't even realize how good he actually is and why everybody was so engulfed by his game at Georgia. And I think it's the same thing. You know what's crazy? I've seen teams like the Cowboys. Jalen Carter's out the game, and guess what? They're running the ball.
Mhm.
They're able to get the running game going. Teams are excited about it because it's like, man, that dude is a game wrecker. And like I said, when I watch Jalen Carter, and I watch a lot of Jalen Carter, that dude, man, he gives you nightmares. He gives you nightmares because you have to account for him every single play. Every single play, right? What makes Myles Garrett special? Well, Myles Garrett could line up inside. He could line up on the edge. He can line up everywhere. So you just never know. So even if there's something you guys are doing to take Myles Garrett away, well, they'll line him up on the interior. Now you got to deal with that huge presence coming at you. And you got to figure out a way to maneuver around that. There's no way to maneuver around. What are you going to do? You're going to do what the Bengals do? What the Bengals do? Where they ask their running back to step up and line up behind the guard and as an extra blocker, and then he gets bull rushed. Like, there's nothing you really can do. I view Jalen Carter as one of those guys. And to me, a lot of bull crap or bull junk could happen in Philadelphia. Yeah. It's a very lively city. Trust me. It's the worst. I'm from Jersey, guys. It's the one city that I hate driving through at night. Daniel can tell you. I purposefully go out of, and I consider myself a very good driver. I purposefully go out of my way and take the longer route home. So the GPS system doesn't take me through Philly when I go home, because there's so many stolen cars and people are driving like idiots. And Jalen Carter has not gotten in trouble for anything off the field since being in Philly. My point for bringing that up is Cincinnati ain't much to do. You got Skyline, you got mini golf, you got concerts, and well, maybe if you're Cam Taylor-Britt, I guess you can find maybe. But
You can find
there's not too much to do.
I heard the casino is a pretty popular spot.
You said what?
I said I heard the casino is a pretty popular spot.
Oh yeah, according to some, yeah. But like, it's for me, it's like there's not a whole lot to do in Cincinnati, because in Cincinnati, what I love about it is it's just hardworking folks, man. Just hardworking folks that listen. They just want to root for a winner. In Cincinnati, we got two things, and I can say I'm a Cincinnatian now because I've been here for damn near. This is my 5th year going on here in Cincinnati. But we got nothing but we got our football and we got our baseball. That's all we care about. See, our baseball. See how I said that there? We care about our football. We care about our baseball. So I feel like there's limited distractions in a city like Cincinnati. What are you going to do here? Oh, man, you got pulled over for speeding. You know, like there's not too much distractions in Cincinnati, and that's a good thing. I would love a Jalen Carter in Cincinnati, guys.
Could also just take the gamble on, hey, he's 24 years old. Maybe just like that frontal lobe is right about to develop. And then suddenly he's just going to be like, wait, I'm 25. Suddenly I
gotta start paying my own insurance, man.
How much do the Bengals match on the 401k? Yeah. Suddenly he's asking those questions.
There's not a player in that 10 that I'm like, they're better than Jalen Carter. It's not a player on the defensive line that I'm like, he's going to stop me from drafting, going after for trading for Jalen Carter.
Is there a player on the defense better than Jalen Carter
No.
right now? Right. Like that's the thing. Is like that's an easy, like that's the level of player you need right now, because as much as you want to have this mismatch of like different players, you ultimately need that blue chip guy. You need to have that.
The reason why I'm campaigning so hard is because I don't want to take credit for things. I don't want to make it seem like I just know everything, because guys, I promise you I don't know everything. But last year, who DM'd me, guys? Dalton Reisner. We were talking back and forth about, he was literally updating me. Has the Bengals reached out to him? He finally said, dude, the Bengals reached out to me. Like, he was excited about it, right? Sometimes I feel like because they don't make calls, they don't know. I'm telling you guys right now, Cincinnati Bengals, because I know Bengals people watch this show. Jalen Carter could be had. Just make the phone call. Make the phone call, see what it would take. Now, I will tell you, his agent does want a new contract. Drew Rosenhaus does want a new contract in place for Jalen Carter. I think he wants to secure that. But Jalen Carter could be had for the right price. I believe that. And I don't think it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And I had those conversations yesterday. It's up to y'all to see if you want to get out of your comfort zone and go from there, man. You know, that's just my thought process. So, again, if you don't have any other plans, I'd place that phone call. We got some more chats, Daniel.
Yeah, we got some super chats. Once again, we appreciate every single person that is doing this. Fuzzy Balls, once again, we appreciate Fuzzy said, trade for Isaiah Simmons, has a unique skill set and elite physical
He
skills.
just signed.
Yeah, that's what I hate to throw a little bit of cold water on that, but he just signed with the Panthers.
There's still time.
Hey, there's still time.
Intercept the play.
I think that there's a possibility. Like, I like that role, but the fact that he signed, if it becomes official, it's probably not going to happen with the Simmons thing. We had one from Matthew Whitehead 58, $10. We appreciate you, Matthew. He said the defense will not improve. They are not willing to invest. Next offseason, we will miss the playoffs. Burrow will demand to be traded. Ooh, hey, listen, I think that, man, missing the playoffs, it depends on how the rest of this offseason goes. But, I mean, there's always the possibility that you end up missing the playoffs. And if you do, the conversations will be had. We hope that does not happen.
I'm just worried the plan for that is like, hey, we're going to sign a couple solid players at the spots that we were really bad at, where they rationalize, oh, we just watched it back. And if we just stop missing all these tackles, our defense is going to be fine. And it's like, I need you guys to also watch the snaps where, like, you remember when Aaron Rodgers was in the red zone and he just danced around for 7.5 seconds?
Yep.
Like,
that was the first game without Trey.
That's the problem right there, is that even if you have a bunch of these solid guys, even if you're doing you're tackling sound, you're more fundamental, if you can't generate a pass rush, you're fucked. And if you're not having Trey Hendrickson, I like the Mafe signing. That's not fixing it. Miles Murphy being 10, 15% better doesn't fix it. Shamar Stewart being 50% better doesn't fix it. So, like, that's where I'm like, there is still, I want to compliment them on what they've done, but there's still so much work to be done to get this to a competitive defense and not just a very, very adequate one. And I'm probably being generous there.
And one thing on that too, as well, is the fact that you have to look at the draft picks and these guys have to play. We talked about this on yesterday's show, but you can look back 4 or 5 years. I mean, typically I like to say, hey, 3 years at least to allow those draft picks to fully develop.
Yep.
And when you go look back at some of those picks with the Bengals, they got to produce. And this season, right, every great team, you have to have these guys produce. And this season, that's what the Bengals said, right, heading to the offseason. Well, we needed this developmental year. Well, we're going to see Shamar Stewart in his second season, Chris Jenkins. You have Miles Murphy. These are the guys. Demetrius Knight. Those 4 guys I mentioned
McKinley
were guys
Jackson?
You drafted. I wasn't going to mention McKinley Jackson.
I'm going to mention McKinley Jackson till the fucking end of the world, man. I promise.
It's critical because these aren't just 6th-round picks we're talking about. These are 2nd and 3rd round picks, and this is the conversation that has to be had. Those guys have to produce, and if they don't, you have to have a plan in place. But as it stands right now, the plan is probably to put those guys in positions where they have to make plays. We had another one from Nick. We appreciate you once again. Another one of our members, I believe.
Thank you, sir.
He said the Bengals have been searching for a defensive tackle to replace Geno Atkins since he left. Yes, make a trade for Carter or Simmons. We also had somebody mention Dexter Lawrence. It remains to be seen what the Giants want to do. Obviously, John Harbaugh's in there. They have Darius Alexander. I don't necessarily know if they would be interested.
They'd be a damn fool to move on from Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah. And that's, I think that worst thing is you make a phone call. But I agree. In an ideal world, those guys are, that's what you got right now. It's either make a trade for a guy, rely on an older veteran like a Calais Campbell, like some of these other guys, Jonathan Allen, Shelby Harris, or pray. That's pretty much it. But that was it for the super chats that we had.
You know, I want to ask you this, Logan. Let's talk about some players the Bengals can still add still before we get out of here, right?
Yeah.
You know, I look at it. There's still some guys out here, right? Who is a guy that you think might make sense to some degree that you would like to see the Cincinnati Bengals maybe look to add at some of these lower level deals? Obviously, we talked about the DJ Reader, the hold on yards.
I think for me, it's tough because I think you're at a point where I don't want to say you're going to sign guys that don't necessarily make sense, because like I talked about, like Jaquan Brisker, that's a guy I'm a big fan of. I think his role in Cincinnati could be fun, could make sense with how we are currently constructed, but it's not like something you're like, oh, another safety. You know, I don't think there's any defensive tackles that are really worth a damn, that are really gonna. I don't say worth a damn because there's some veterans out there, but like nothing that's gonna.
Damn,
like,
coach.
Nothing that's really gonna like really feel super awesome, you know. And I like this DT class in the draft. There's still room to add Calais Campbell and some of these Jonathan Allen swings, but like I don't know what the upside is there. I think the things that really would, I don't want to say excite me, there's some fun guys on offense. I know it's boring and something that we don't really want to talk about necessarily because it's all we ever do. But I mean, I would do some real serious things for Dallas Goedert to be a Cincinnati Bengal. Like I'm tired of having.
I would love to have an inline tight
That's
end
what I'm
that can also
saying.
catch
Is he a
passes.
free agent?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Eagles
him or
up the
Njoku, like a guy who just
Yeah.
has the inline and the red zone threat capability.
And it sucks because I don't think Goddard is a guy he's not a guy you throw your 1 year deal at. I don't think that's what he's looking for right now. He doesn't need to prove anything. He's proven he can be a good NFL tight end. So that's where like that kind of scares me away from that. But again, I'm like you said, I need an inline tight end that can not.
he's so good in the red zone too.
Yeah, he does a lot of things that the Bengals would want in the position. Another safety I like in general, Dane Belton from the Giants. Another guy that's
He just signed, I think.
Oof.
I think he just
Oh
signed.
my God! Well, they're
Do you want to be a GM?
There goes
You're
Dane
making a
Belton.
lot of good calls here.
But then again, it's just like you're teetering at that line on the defensive side of the ball in general, where it's just let's get a body in here, let's feel good, like let's just help raise the floor. But there's not many like names left out there for me that are really like I really really want to bring this guy in. I really want to do this with him. You know, I really want to be excited about him. There's just not that many guys left for me. I wish I'm not again. Dre Greenlaw's out there. A lot of people like Dre and Greenlaw.
I like Dre.
A Karake's out there.
As long as you feel good about the health.
I don't know how much the Bengals are going to play in that field again. I know that's a cop out and something we continue to kind of say, but I don't know if they're going to play in these 1 year deals. Like Dante Fowler, you know, is a guy that generated a ton of pressures last year for the Cowboys in their rape. Are they going to sign a 31-year-old edge rusher to a 1 year deal? I don't know. Probably not. You know, but like, should they consider it? Yes, absolutely. You know, there's a couple of those. We talked about Sebastian Joseph Day the other day, but like he's another guy that's like we did the dance with him a few years ago and it didn't work out, and then it's just, are we really going to go back to that? There's nothing really left out there that you feel really great about that makes sense on paper for the Bengals. There's a ton of, like I said, I like some of the safeties still. There's still some okay corners out there that you can do. There's still some offensive players that can make the Bengals better. But in terms of truly finding players that fit exactly what the Bengals need, that list is unfortunately a lot smaller than when we would like it to be at this point.
I don't know if he signs at all, but what do you guys think about? Has he signed Samson and Bukum?
No, I don't think so. That he tore his Achilles last year, right? Or the year before. Yeah, I mean,
he's a player I've always liked since his days with the Niners.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, and again, coming off, like, I'm so down to take a flyer on a guy like that has had some production in the past, that has coming off an injury. Yeah, you're probably not going to expect much of him, but it's just one of those things like, what are you going to lose from it? He's not going to, or you can sign him for probably nothing.
Can I cook a little bit?
Yeah, let me hear it.
There's a guy I'm still interested in.
Hmm.
I'm not done with this defense. I want to cook. Cater Kohu
Yeah.
from the Dolphins,
Yeah.
slot corner.
Down for
I'm not
corners.
happy with our slot corner spot still. I
Yeah.
still think the Bengals can get better there. Cater Kohu interests me. Cater Kohu is a guy that I like. That's a tongue twister. I know you guys talked about Roger McCree, his age as well. Cater Kohu's only 27 years old though.
And,
Yeah.
and Cater on that point as well. You know, I rewatched both of those guys today. The thing with Kohu you're getting a value guy. He didn't play all of last year, right? He tore his ACL, I believe, literally the first week of training camp. And that's an upside guy. I mean, I remember watching him 2 years ago, and a couple games stood out. His game against the Rams, he had an interception. Then he's your smaller slot guy, quick. That's a position that really does interest me. And I think for him, I don't know what his recent contract was with the Dolphins, but he is not making more than $3 million. He's not coming off a torn ACL. Obviously, he's young. That is a pick where I also think you could wait a little bit for that guy, but he is a pick that you are not paying a lot of money for, and you can bring him in. So I definitely like that nickel spot.
And don't sleep on a guy like Mike Danna either. I liked him personally with Kansas City. I liked him coming in as a relief role being utilized. I've seen him line up inside. I've seen him line up on the edge. I think he's an upgrade over some of the guys we've had in here personally, especially in a depth spot. Logan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I like Dan. There's a lot of these guys that just like are worth flyers at this point. I think that's what we're looking at. You're looking at some of the guys that you feel like can provide something to your team or have some upside, but kind of combining the Ibukum and the Kader Kohu player position storyline. Martin Emerson. I mean, we know him when play for the Browns. Like, there's a guy coming off. I forget. He might have tore his Achilles too before the season started. But again, that's a guy that's still 25 years old. That's produced some quality tape in the NFL, and he's a bigger guy. Like, just you're looking for depth. You're looking for builds or roles that people can fill at this point. I think he's a guy that's worth taking a flyer on at this point. But that's, again, you're getting into the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson guys that you see here year after year that, yeah, they're good. Yeah, they have their flaws. Yeah, they, maybe aren't the best. I don't know, like they're weird. Like there's a reason why some of these people are still available, and they have to get specific on how they want to build their team. And it's getting to the point where it sucks because we aren't there. We shouldn't be there, but we're getting to the point where it's like, I'd rather draft this guy than sign this guy. I'd rather draft this position than sign this position. But that's a very dangerous game to play, unfortunately. And it's very unfortunate that Bengals are kind of at that point.
Dan, we got a couple of super chats we want to get to.
Yep. Michael Rolfe, once again, we appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you, man.
Well, 1999, actually, he said, what would it take for each of you guys to give the Bengals free agency an A? Ooh, he said, trade particular players, and assuming the Bengals accomplish that, who would be your top 3 on your draft big board? So first question, just what would it take to get an A for you guys, if possible, at this point?
I got something pulled up. All right. So, like, the big thing is you've got positional needs still at multiple spots. You guys have illustrated the issue you still have at corner, right? And just general secondary.
Yeah.
Behind your initial guys who have had injury issues in the past couple of years, as soon as you lose one, you don't like where you're at. Safety still is a question mark behind your starters. Linebacker, defensive line, right? So there's a lot that can go. You got to get a guy like a Jadeveon Clowney or I'm just saying a guy who's been productive at edge, a guy who
that you're going to get.
100% Jadeveon Clowney is going to be a good run defender. Over the last 2-3 years, he's been a good pass rusher. Last year, he was a very good pass rusher. And that's just the stats. As much as he's had a very misaligned, a very difficult career path, let's just say. So, like, if you got me a guy like that, if you got me a guy in the secondary for slot like Roger McCreary, guy who got traded to the Rams, looked great and has had some very good years, still just 26 years old and is going to be cheap. This is all working with the Bengals budget, by the way. You get Jadeveon Clowney, you get a Roger McCreary, and then you add a guy either at linebacker or on the defensive interior, whatever your flavor is. For me, that's Calais Campbell. That gives you versatility for a guy who can play edge, interior, be a pass rusher, stand up because of how strong he is and how large he is against the run. That would be like, hey, you've added 2 competent NFL level bodies to your defensive line that can move around, and you've added to your secondary. I would feel better about where you're at. Yes, they're uninspiring moves, but again, we're back to the point where if you don't trade for Max Crosby or Jalen Carter, what big move is there to make right now left that you feel like, oh, that guy is a game changer, right? And that's where you're at. Yeah. So, like, the answer is it's really hard to get to an A. You'd almost have to address every single team need that you have, right? And getting an A in free agency, like, on the days of free agency is not necessarily a win, right? Like, ideally, you're getting guys like Trey Hendrickson who, like, hey, this guy's unproven, but you're making that gamble. Or Mike Gesicki, hey, this guy hasn't produced in a couple years, but you're making that gamble, right? And so initially on free agency day, they may go, that was an overpay, or that's not a good thing. So I don't want to judge too hard in that instance, but it's more about filling those needs to give yourself flexibility in the draft. And I feel like, and I'm sure many people feel like, they are far from having patched enough needs to be able to have that flexibility in the draft without trading back and getting more picks.
Of course. And we got another one from Esther Wing. Once again,
Esther, thank you so much.
Esther said, the Bengals won't pick up the damn phone. Ooh, Carter needs to call us. Ooh.
I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm like, yo, tell that boy to call. Tell Drew to call. Because you know who was Drew Rosenhaus, who his agent, who his player agent represents is Dalton Reisner, who just got an extension with the Bengals. Dalton Reisner. Hey, listen. He also was Carlos Dunlap's agent.
Hey, there's another nice thing about the Bengals. Good job getting Dalton Reisner done. There you go. How about that? All right.
Before.
Yeah, before we didn't have to do a long drawn out process. It was just the easy deal to make. We did it. We got it done. Good job. Good job,
is this
Bengals.
accurate? Hold on. I want to make sure this is not.
I see what you're. Yeah.
Please, God.
Yeah, I don't want to read it necessarily.
While Malik is looking at that, nobody's really brought up Joey Bosa either.
Another guy like Jadeveon Clowney, but
Yep.
the thing is, Clowney's been healthier than Bosa, which is what gives me
the loose Burrow-ish connection of them being friends. Like
that's the water you got to play in, though. Is like you've got to pay for the veterans because, like you said, the younger guys that are worth investing in are not there anymore. So you need to take these swings on these veterans that have been productive. Because what did the Ravens do the last couple of years? We talked about constantly. Who are these impact veteran free agents you can get to do defined roles? And the Ravens did it with Justin Houston, who played like 300 snaps for them in back-to-back seasons and ended up with like 8 and 10 sacks. Like
DeMarcus Lawrence, another one last
DeMarcus
year.
Lawrence. They had Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep.
The Cowboys had Jadeveon Clowney, and he was going crazy for him. So it's like, if you want to play in this bucket where you don't give out a lot of guaranteed money, you're either dealing with guys on prove-it deals.
Yep.
Or you're dealing with aging veterans who are like, hey, I'm taking 1 and 2 year deals and I don't need a lot of guaranteed money in year 2 and 3. I just want the guaranteed money now.
And that's, especially when we talk about edge, I think that's probably the position you would get the most impact from these guys. I mean, Joey Bosa is a perfect example. I know we saw some comments about him. Look at what he did with the Bills last year, multiple games. Hell, look at the game against the Ravens, right? Where everybody was talking about Derrick Henry's fumbling problems. What was happening before? Joey Bosa was destroying their offensive line. I think when we look at this scale of the Bengals defensive line right now, they are going to rely, as it is right now, Mafe, you got Shamar and Miles Murphy on the edge. I would much rather bring in somebody so you don't have to rely on either hoping Bain is there at 10 or going in and saying a second round guy. If you bring in somebody like Bosa for a 1-year deal, you can go play around with whatever you want because you filled the need at edge.
I wish the Bengals would play in the bucket of a dependent pass or designated pass rusher.
Yes.
Because we look at the construction of the team, like Miles Murphy, no matter what you can say about him, he's always been a pretty good run defender. Shamar Stewart, that's what
all these long, strong guys.
Like I wish they would just be okay with having one guy that just
is 260 pounds
just
and
go.
not 6 feet.
Like just go get him, whether that's in the draft, whether like instead of signing your 1-year deals at tight end every year, let's just sign a 1-year deal for the guy with the most pressures that will sign for the cheapest. You know what I mean? Like it can just be, I don't want to say it can be that simple sometimes, but sometimes the thought process can really just be that simple.
Yes, it can.
And when you look at, because obviously, you know, something that I've personally loved, and, you know, with you being a coach, I love, you know, just diving into the film and not only that, just learning more about the positions.
Mm-hmm.
Other teams will sign guys. The designated pass rusher position isn't something it is widely talked about enough because, you know, you hear the term edge or you hear the term pass rusher or run defender. Having a guy as the designated pass rusher, the Bills did it, you know, when they had Von Miller, and multiple teams have that. This guy plays 15 to 20 snaps. It is third down. It is second and long. That is what that guy is for. And as the Bengals currently stand, and this is just to make it clear, they need to add pass rush. They need to add the edge spot because Cam Sample obviously played some inside, is no longer there. Joseph Asai, Trey Hendrickson. What's up?
I just don't. What do you do, man? Like in terms of like the edge, I feel like you kind of getting like. What do you?
You have to add a body.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You have to add a body.
Okay,
I'm not saying a star. You have to add a body. Like, and maybe this guy isn't, you know, the best run defender. Isn't like I would be looking right now for a pass rusher and a guy that for $3 million, $4 million. I wouldn't be looking to break the bank, especially since you invested first rounder in Miles, first rounder in Shamar. You invested there. You have to, if those guys are still on your roster, especially Shamar, these guys have to play and they got to perform. D-Rock, I don't know if you had D-Rock 504 said linebacker. The problem with linebacker right now is, and we've talked about this, the Bengals use Demetrius Knight a lot on the edge. Right now, there's not a lot of guys. The guys we bring up, Bobby Wagner has arguably never played on the defensive line. He's a Mike. Bobby
and can't be in coverage right now, which is
yes.
what 60% of the modern NFL.
Yep. And a lot of these guys we bring up, like I like Bobby Okereke a lot. I went back and rewatched him. This guy has a knack for the football. He has 8 forced fumbles in the past 3 seasons. This guy, he's somewhat young. He's not 30 years old, but at the same time, like, where does he fit with the Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter if they fully trust him? But I would be looking into bringing a veteran. That's the problem I have with the draft. I don't want to head into the draft respectfully and go out and draft a guy in round 1 or round 2 because it does muddy the water. So I would rather bring in a veteran.
The problem is right now, any of the free agent veterans that are available right now are all projected to make the projected contract for every single one not named Bobby Wagner that's still available is 1 year, less than $2 million. So that's like, hey, if we bring a guy in on the vet minimum, okay, that's Oren Burks. That's not a guy who's going to come in and start over Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter, whoever they want to put in there. That's why I keep getting sick thinking about it, because I keep going back to they're going to use the draft to try and address this, because that or you just sign an uninspired veteran linebacker and you just hope he gives you 300 snaps this season, 400 snaps maybe. And that's just to be like, we just hope that Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter both take a giant step forward, when again, we're coming back to, Bobby Wagner. I heard somebody say Bobby Wagner would be great for these young guys to develop and help them figure out the habits they need to, be successful NFL liners. Hey, I'll hear that for Barrett Carter, but what the fuck are we talking about? The advantage in Demetrius Knight was supposed to be he's ready. He's been working out. He's a grown man. He's got all the habits and he's so smart. And what do we mean he needs to develop more? Yeah. It can't be both. We can't have it both ways. So you can't say you drafted him because he's ready and also, we need him to take a big step forward. Yeah. We need him to learn he's not ready yet. I think it's not both.
I don't want to harp too much on it because something I talk about the linebackers a lot in the at the end of the year in the offseason. We drafted Demetrius Knight, again, supposed to be ready. We drafted Barrett Carter, this athletic guy. He can do a little bit of everything. But then he proceeded to use them both in ways that probably aren't very appropriate. Demetrius Knight is not a guy that can play on the edge, and that's where he constantly got used. I love Barrett Carter. Everybody knows how high I was on Barrett Carter. But then you tasked him with being a green dot player, which he didn't do in college, and he was a 4th round draft pick and got asked to be the green dot player in week 3, week 4, whatever it was. Talk about a massive gap or leap in responsibilities for a guy who's used to just flying around doing whatever. Now he's got to really slow down and think about the play, think about everybody's responsibility. They didn't do a good job at really letting these linebackers play to their strengths last year, which is, I'm not saying that's going to solve all their problems, because they're clearly at this point going to still have to do these things, but they didn't really help in a lot of ways either last year.
For sure. We had another super chat.
This is going to be our final before we head out of here. Let's try to run through these.
Perfect.
But thank you guys so much.
The final super chat was Michael Gibson Y2U. We appreciate you, Michael. He said,
thanks, Michael.
Pac-Man Jones just said he has a strong sources that can swear Max Crosby is going to be a Bengal tomorrow. We touched on that a little bit early in the show. And
what a day that would be. I will sell those. Yeah, someone come get me. I might jump off my roof. I'll be so happy.
So let's make a deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we make a deal? I'm a businessman.
Let's make a deal.
If the Bengals were to trade for our Max Crosby tomorrow, right? You and Logan are both on the show again tomorrow at 7 p.m.
I can do that.
I'm just thinking about what I got going on tomorrow. Make sure I can.
No. You said somebody come get you or jump
good.
off a roof. If the Bengals traded for Max Crosby,
all right,
you two are both here tomorrow for a show. Deal? No, I didn't hear you say it.
Deal.
Okay, cool. Great. Listen, thank y'all so much, man. Thank y'all so much. Again, if you're new to the channel for the first time, make sure you guys give this video a like if you like the content. Subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. We went long, man. We went almost 2 hours on the show.
Good stuff.
Before we wrap up, just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying the content, you want exclusive perks to the Sitdown membership. Members get exclusive live streams, bonus content, UFC betting picks, and deeper breakdowns. If you want to support the channel, get extra content, join the Sitdown membership today. We greatly appreciate you. But that's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back again live tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Me and the boys break it down. Free agency frenzy, day 4. If there's any breaking news or anything were to happen in between then, we'll be back live again. We appreciate y'all, man. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate y'all so much. And remember, there's only one way you should be coming home from work, eating your dinner, drinking a beer or drinking some iced tea. And that is with the Sit Down channel. So we appreciate you guys. We will see you guys tomorrow. And until next time, Who Dey?
This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well, you better know now.